First of all, I want to be able to start off, it's good to see all you guys, but my thoughts and prayers are with Ukraine. This obviously really hits home with me because my fiance is from the Ukraine. She still has a lot of family there. And, just watching the grace at which she's handled this, how strong her family's been in the midst of this. I'm just so proud to be associated with that culture. President Zelensky's leadership has been incredible. This is real type of stuff right here. And it gives you really a perspective, but I'm just so proud of my fiance, Veronica, and my thoughts and prayers are with so many people that are unfortunately affected by this terrible time, but there's a lot of, really impressive people that I've just been in awe of with the way that they've handled that. And, wanted to start with that. Also, really excited, flattered by some of the opportunities and interest. That is something that down the line, I think that, I would be interested in some of the media things, but my heart is in coaching, with these players, with these coaches, with this ownership group. And I'm really excited about continuing to move forward with this group, have such a love and a passion, for coaching this game. And that's kind of where we're at, and excited about attacking the offseason the right way. And it's come quick. And as you're putting together the coaches calendar, you realize how quick it is. We've lost some great coaches, but we've also added some great coaches. And I'm really excited to get everybody in the building when the combine wraps up starting next Tuesday and attack this thing full speed ahead. So you guys go ahead.
Kevin.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Kevin.
Very nicely said. Can you take us kind of through your process of getting to this point where your heart is in this? If there was any doubt, was it all about just wanting to hear alternative possibilities and opportunities, or after winning the biggest thing you can win, was there any personal, I guess, doubt about your commitment?
Yeah, no, there was never a doubt, but I would say this, that is something that I've had an interest in, but I love coaching. I love these players. I think, more than anything, you really find a purpose when you're coaching and you're working with people and people that you love. And I think there was real purpose behind this team. There's a lot of passion and purpose. And I think those things, continue to carry you on, but it's hard to say. There's been so many things that have gone on. I love this game. I love coaching this game. I love working with the people. And I just think the timing and everything that surrounded it, it's very flattering. I'm humbled by it. To say that that's not something that down the line I'm not very interested and intrigued by would not be accurate, but I'm totally committed to coaching. Love this team. And, it doesn't go lost on me the amount of people that took a chance on me when I was 30 years old as a head coach. The investment in these relationships with players, with coaches, and I'm very, very excited. And as soon as you make that decision to move forward, Kevin, I think the clarity and the peace that you had, you knew this is exactly what I wanted to do. And there was really never a doubt.
Okay. And then the last thing for me, how does the offseason feel different, either on a personal level or on practical roster decision levels after winning a Super Bowl?
It's hard to say. I mean, it's been such a whirlwind, and you talk about just the range of emotions where, you work so hard to achieve those things. And then you get the perspective when someone that is, going to be your future wife that you love and care so much about is in the midst of going through that. And that's my family as well, the way that I look at it. And so it's been quite a whirlwind, to say the least. But I do think, as far as it just relates to football exclusively, Kevin, it's nice to be able to just take a deep breath and really appreciate what a great journey it was. And it was certainly a special journey. And now you start to move forward, and you want to be able to try to keep as many foundational pieces in place while not being naive to the fact that it's a brand new year. Even though we'll have the same goals, there'll be new challenges, and you start from square one, and there's going to be a lot of turnover, whether that be from our players or, already in our coaching staff. And I think those are things that I'm excited about building and moving toward, being the best version of the 2022 Rams that we can be, while also appreciating, what a special group that was. And those are things that I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
Thanks, Sean, and congratulations on the Super Bowl.
Oh, thank you, Kevin.
Maria.
Hey, Sean, congratulations. And I really send the best to your fiance's family as well. I know this
Thank
is
you.
definitely a tough time.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Of course. Thinking about, the players, especially Aaron Donald. Aaron's been really vocal about saying he wants to run it back with Vaughn and OBJ. He wants certain players there. How much does maybe his desires factor into what you and Les have to actually do to get players back into the game?
Oh, it's huge. Here's what I would say too. The dialogue and the relationships that you establish with foundational pieces like an Aaron, like a Matthew, are vital to being able to put the puzzle together the right way. That's the challenge, is that you want to be able to reward everyone accordingly, while also knowing that there's parameters around how you want to be able to build it. But, I know Aaron's working through some different things. He and I have had great dialogue. I really hold our relationship very close, and it's very special. And, I know he's working through some things with his family, and he's earned the right to be able to take a little bit of an exhale and enjoy, what he's accomplished. And I'm really so happy to see him doing that, whether it's, the parade you guys see. I just think I think it's great because he works so hard, and for him to be able to enjoy the things that he and his teammates have earned is really special. I think once he digests it all, I'm going to do everything in my power to make it enticing for him to want to come back and be a foundational part of us, trying to do a great job of playing really well and being in the moment one day at a time for this next season.
And then quickly, have you already started the process of talking to players?
I have. Yeah, that's, you want to give them a couple weeks, Maria, but really this week we'll kind of start reaching out, connecting with guys, understanding how quickly this free agency period will be upon us. And obviously the combine's going on right now, and there's a lot of reasons why Les and I both felt like it would be in our best interest to stay back, get a lot of stuff done in the meantime. And that's what we're in the process of doing.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Claudia.
Sean, first of all, congratulations on winning the Super Bowl.
Thank you.
Sean, talking about, what you guys are trying to figure out, making all these decisions, obviously, is there any particular positions that you would like to strengthen and make deeper?
Yeah, I think you're always trying to improve the depth of your team. I think that was really challenged this year, and the guys shined really bright in some big stages where maybe they weren't expected to be called upon in some of those moments, whether it be the conference championship or in the Super Bowl. But it is a big puzzle. And so to exclusively isolate one position would be hard right now. Our job is to try to, help create the most competitive situation in every single position that we can. You guys know we'll explore as many different avenues of onboarding players, but I think the first step for us is trying to re-sign as many of our own, and then looking at those external avenues to add players, because we think we've got a lot of good things going. Got to be able to continue to build on that. And the first step is being able to re-sign some of our free agents, and even some of the guys that you might need to make sure they feel good, even if there are years remaining on their contract, is something that we've discussed as well.
Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
Dennis. You're on mute, Dennis.
Okay. How you doing, Coach McVay?
Good. How are you?
Great. Congratulations on winning the Super Bowl. Coach, how much has your perspective changed about life in general when it comes to seeing what we're seeing in Ukraine? And I have a second part question. Now that you're a Super Bowl championship coach, what did you learn the most about yourself going through the last season?
Yeah, I think, to answer your first question, I think perspective is everything, because I think about so many things that I get worked up about. And then, you see real life examples of, what it's like to experience real adversity, what it's like to really unify and show real resilience and toughness and all the things that you want your teams to embody, but in the midst of real life experiences and examples. And as terrible as this thing is going on, there's been a lot of things that I've just seen that are inspiring and that do give you a perspective. So, of course, this has had a significant impact. I think a lot of the things that have gone on, especially the last couple of years, when you're in a position to be a leader, has really been eye-opening to me on perspective, whether it be being more empathetic to different experiences that other people go through from a bunch of different backgrounds that maybe I wasn't exposed to. And this represents another opportunity to be able to learn, show empathy, and be there for the people that you love and care about unconditionally. And I think that's been the hardest thing about all of this, Dennis, is that so often when you're in these positions, you're tasked with trying to find and solve problems and provide solutions. And sometimes you feel helpless. And the only thing you can do is be there, continue to pray and trust in the Lord that these will be times that we can work through. And, that's been a lot of the things that they've kind of worked through for these last couple of weeks, but really, as it relates to a lot of different topics over the last couple of years that have been helpful for me to learn. As far as the Super Bowl, I think other than being able to celebrate and a couple more people saying congratulations or kind of whispering when you walk to places, doesn't really change much. I think what gave me real peace in the midst of, trying to chase that, Dennis, was that there's a real purpose for doing it with people that you want to see succeed more than some of your own selfish ambitions. I don't, our guys delivered, they did a great job, and man, that's going to be something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. But I also think it's important that, if a couple things go differently, does that make you a different person? That's hard for me to say. But it doesn't minimize how much I value and cherish that experience with that team. Love so many people and players, and really that's why you do this. And I'll forever, cherish that. And that's the only time I've ever won it. And it was pretty special. And shoot, I watched some of that mic'd up stuff and I still get teary eyed watching that stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Jordan.
Hey, Sean. First of all, sending my best to you and Veronica, especially and family right now. Did want to ask about some of the contracts that you guys have coming up, even like you alluded to, guys who do have some time left on the deal. How high of a priority for you personally is getting Matthew Stafford extended, and that in tandem with Aaron's contract, and how those things can be structured, how that will set up y'all's free agency process?
Yeah, it's huge. And that's an incredibly high priority. There's a lot of guys that are really important, but I think when you look at those two in particular, Jordan, those guys are foundational pieces on each side of the ball. They're basically both unanimously voted captains. They epitomize what's right about the Rams. And so I think the other thing that's special is these guys deserve and will be rewarded accordingly, but I think they also understand they want to work in coordination, to try to help us be as competitive as we can. And these are two guys that are great players that have earned the right to be in these discussions. But I think they also have a perspective and an understanding of, where their priorities are at this point in their career. But, if they told me that they were thinking twice about coming back, it might have made me think about it too, Jordan.
And then Sean, just to follow up really quickly, a little bit of a pivot as well. How, over the last couple of years, how have you guys, you and Les, as you've sort of reshaped your process of draft and evaluation, and specifically time spent on task in various regards, how's your approach to the combine itself changed since about 2019 or so?
Yeah, I would say this, Les and his group do such a great job with the background and the vetting. And, the most important thing to me is time spent, evaluating the tape. And I have such trust. There's nothing like being able to simulate watching these guys do what they're asked to do, but then you also don't minimize the interpersonal interaction as it relates to their understanding of football, getting a feel for who they are as a human being. And I think in a lot of instances, that's where you trust the background that Les and his group do such a great job of, because if you don't have to travel, you can have a lot more of an efficient usage of your time studying the film, especially when we're this far behind. And to say that the fact that we don't pick until, when we first get that comp pick in the third, at the end of the third round, that plays a factor in it as well. But there's a lot of different ways of being able to get the information that's necessary to make sound decisions as it relates to the draft and free agency. And there's a lot of trust that I have in Les and his group to do that. And that's what they're working on throughout the midst of the season. And, this is a year's worth of work, and that trust that our coaching staff has in them has been a really valuable part of why we feel like we can approach those things. And I also think we always try to ask why, why are we doing the things that we're doing? Is this in alignment with helping us be the best football team and efficiently use our time as it relates to combine, this different things. And that's, kind of a good thing. And at the end of the day, Les and I felt like our time would be best utilized staying back, being able to do some things. And there's a lot of layers to that. You don't want to minimize, the value of the combine, but for us, that's what we felt like was going to be the best approach, Jordan.
Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
Gary.
Well, first, I want to echo Jordan's feelings. I hope Veronica's family and friends are staying safe and doing okay under
Thank
the
you, Gary.
circumstances. I wanted to ask you, I know you guys haven't formally announced anything, but can you take us through the staff changes you have made and what the responsibilities will be for the people you've added?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, there'll be some formal things and won't get too specific because our guys have an idea, but I do think it's important for us to get back and that I'm clearly communicating to them the roles, the expectations, the standards that we want to operate with. First of all, we're losing 6 great coaches that were instrumental in our success. You look at Kevin O'Connell, Wes Phillips, and Chris O'Hara on offense. You look at Dwayne Stukes working with special teams, he and Joe D. And you look at defensively losing Ejiro Evero and Marcus Dixon. And I wish all those guys nothing but the best. It all was an example and an experience where those guys got a chance to elevate themselves and take a step in the right direction. And while it's hard to see great coaches leave, you're also very, grateful for the contributions that they had to our team, while happy for them being able to continue to progress in the right direction with some of their career goals and aspirations. And so love those guys. But we've made 6 hires in the meantime. Offensively, being able to add 3 people that I've worked with before that are going to add tremendous value to us. Getting Liam Cohen back, what a great job he did at University of Kentucky leading the way. He and I have really kept in great contact. He was somebody that I heavily leaned on before he, really, I've never been one to really care too much about the roles, but I trust everybody to be able to contribute. And Liam's always been a guy that I've had a tremendous amount of respect for. I really love the way that he sees the game. We see it through a very similar lens, and he's got a great understanding. And so he's going to do a great job coming back. We have 3 years of experience together, and I think he's a tremendous coach. Being able to add Greg Olson, figuring out the exact capacities, but he's done such a phenomenal job. He's been a mentor in a lot of ways to me. He was our quarterback coach in 2017. He's been with the Raiders each of the last 4 seasons in between. And he's a great coach. He was great to me. I first worked with him in Tampa when I first started coaching. He did a great job, leading the way for their offense with the Raiders last year. And he's going to provide tremendous value for us. And then Jake Peets is a guy that I worked with in Washington, sees the game. He was LSU's offensive coordinator last year. But he's going to do a great job. That has another, you're looking at 3 guys with a great big picture perspective. So those 3, adding them to the mix, are going to provide tremendous value. I also think it's going to be a great opportunity for Thomas Brown to move over. He's going to coach the tight ends this next year. I think he's a coach with tremendous upside. Really, you guys know what a great leader I think he is. That's why he has the role of assistant head coach. But I also think getting him exposure to the different position will help expand the big picture perspective. I know when I coached tight ends, it was one of those roles that helped me gain an appreciation, and really was probably where a lot of the growth occurred, seeing the game not only through an all 11, but an all 22 lens, and he'll do a great job. There'll be some other guys that'll be in line for promotions, but I did think it was important to recognize that. And then Thomas has kind of led the search for us to find a running back coach that we're going to add, to be able to continue to, provide value and be a big part of this offensive staff, continuing to build on some of the things that we've done. Defensively, we're going to be able to keep a really good amount of continuity. I think it was really important to get some of the coaches re-signed that we did. There's going to be guys in line for promotions, but the only new name that you guys will see will be Chris Beek, who was in Denver each of the last few years. Obviously, you guys know a lot of our defensive foundational philosophy is predicated on some of the things that Vic Fangio does, and then Brandon brought in, and then Raheem's put his own spin on it. And so Chris Beek will do an excellent job for us. He'll work with the inside linebackers, and that'll give us an opportunity to be able to have Chris Shula take a step in the right direction and do some things as well. But I'll get into those more specifically at a later date when we announce the whole staff. And then adding, Jeremy Springer to replace Dwayne Stukes. Joe D has a great relationship with him, and I'm excited to get around him. I don't know him too well, but the trust that I have in Joe D. Camillus, I think Jeremy's going to come in and do a nice job. And then also Eric Henderson was instrumental in us finding a guy to replace Marcus Dixon, Skylar Jones, who we're excited about adding. So ultimately the 6 new coaches, Skylar Jones, Chris Beek on defense. We'll have Jeremy Springer working with our special teams, and then the 3 coaches on offense, in addition to expecting to add a running back coach, with those 3 being Greg Olson, Liam Cohen, and Jake Peets.
Thanks very
That was
much.
probably way too long of an answer for you, but I didn't want to short anybody.
No, I appreciate the depth.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Duarte.
Hey, Sean, congratulations again on being the youngest head coach to ever win the Super Bowl. And give my best to Veronica and her family. I hope they're staying safe.
Thank
So
you.
we talked to Les earlier and talking about what you said as far as prioritizing your own free agents. And obviously there's some decisions regarding Andrew Whitworth and whatever the contract situations will be with Matthew and AD moving forward that will obviously have a ripple effect on which free agents you're able to sign and what you can do under the cap. But my question for you is, when it comes to those decisions internally with your own players who are becoming free agents, how much does a like Aaron Donald effect and a Jalen Ramsey effect as far as what those other players do and with their stats when you look at, paying the money to re-sign them or perhaps letting them go and filling them with something in-house or through the draft or through free agency?
It's a significant effect, and I think those guys have earned the right to have that influence, whether that be the influence that they've earned for us to be able to ask questions, to work in unison with them, but also the influence that they have on players wanting to come play with them. A huge draw of why you are able to get Von Miller and Odell Beckham, and why obviously we traded for Von and Odell was a free agent, but still, Von was excited about it because he's playing with Aaron and playing with Jalen. Odell made the decision to come here because he gets to play with all those guys, in addition to having Matthew and Cooper and a lot of the things that were right about it. So it plays a tremendous impact. I think those guys have earned the right to have that influence. And like you guys heard me say a lot last year, I think one of the best things about our team was that this was probably the best. It wasn't probably, this was the best example of a player-led team that I've ever been around. And we've been around some great ones. But that player ownership and autonomy, I think, was on display. I think that's why those guys were so resilient and were able to overcome adversity time in and time out, whether that be tough stretches in the season or moments within the framework of games. And, those guys have a tremendous impact and influence both in our building and then the way that they're able to positively attract guys that want to come be here, even if it means that, they're kind of taking a hometown discount or, taking a little bit less based on some other opportunities and experiences that they might have options of for.
Ryan.
Old mute, got somebody?
Yeah, it got me. Sean, let me please reiterate what everybody else said about your girlfriend or your fiance's family too.
That means a lot. I appreciate that.
Obviously, I wanted to go back to the TV stuff for a second. We've seen some of the, gigantic salary numbers that were out there. And you said, once you decided it was really a no-brainer. But I'm curious just how enticing they made it with their TV broadcast company made it with their offers. And now bigger picture too, Sean, we're seeing Sean Payton do the TV route. It just seems like coaches have maybe more options than they used to have. I mean, to me, working less hard and making more money sounds very enticing. And I think, we all know how hard head coaches work.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's incredibly flattering that there was interest. How deep it got, it's kind of stuff you want to keep behind the scenes, but I'm truly flattered. I'm honored. I'm humbled by that. And to say that that's not something that down the line that I don't have interest in, I'm very interested in that. I've always, been drawn to the game and what a cool opportunity to stay connected. But you aren't totally connected in a lot of the ways that really brings you that joy and that real connection and some of those feelings. You don't miss some of the bad feelings that accompany being a head coach too. But, I finished this season probably as refreshed and as rejuvenated as I've ever been. I think a large part of that is being around coaches and players that give you that energy and excitement to really work with them. But I think it's something that it's become really prevalent. I think it's incredible to be a part of a game that has so many different avenues of being able to financially support your family in great ways. And this game has done a lot for me and my family. And I see it being something that I'll always be connected to as long as I'm as fortunate, as blessed as I am right now. But it all does go back to my grandfather's influence, even getting a chance to get into coaching. But it's like anything else, the more options you have, it definitely is beneficial and helpful. But I think it's great. I'm really happy for a lot of people that have been able to kind of benefit from that. And I'm really excited about coaching.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome, Ryan.
All right, we'll wrap up with Emmanuel, then a quick one for you, Jordan.
Coach, congrats on the Super Bowl. And then, like everyone said, hearts out to your fiance's family. What value do you see in the combine? There's a lot of other teams kind of following you guys' lead and like not coming. So like, what value do you kind of see in the combine, and how do you kind of like try to use it to your advantage, even though you're not here, you and Les aren't here?
Yeah, well, I think it's extremely beneficial and valuable to be able to get to talk to people one-on-one, get to be able to watch some film of theirs and see how they echo and articulate what they were being asked and their just concept of the game. I think there's real value in being able to go down on the field and see these guys work out and get some movement. I also think that there's real value to have a lot of the people that are, in roles and have roles and responsibilities that are in alignment with evaluating those guys, where sometimes it can be a more efficient usage of our time to stay back and really dive into the film, especially when you get such a late start like we did, which I'll never complain about. But I think it is about trust. You got to trust people to be able to do their jobs. I have tremendous trust in Les and his group and the background that they do. And I think the communication in terms of, us as coaches echoing and articulating what we're looking for based on our roster, where we're at, how we get better, and then how we continue to onboard the types of people that fit the skill sets physically, but also, our mental profile fits in terms of their football character and the makeup that, that we want to be able to add that fit in our locker room with the great leadership that we already have in place. So it's hard for me to say. I think it's to each his own. I can only speak about the Rams, and I'm not saying that there's not value in it, but we felt like it was more valuable to stay back and do what we're doing now and sit here on a Zoom call with you guys right now, Emmanuel.
All right, Jordan.
Or sitting on the floor in the Indianapolis Convention Center.
Hey, yeah, you know what? There you go.
I'm in my room.
You're a trooper, Jordan. I'll take rolling my blinds back and being in the sun. You're probably freezing your ass off there.
It's nice here this week. But hey, Sean, I understand if maybe this is honestly too personal of a perspective to ask of you, but what was it like? You and Veronica sitting on the parade bus, the highest of highs, and then days later watching remotely as this horrible thing is happening to her home.
Yeah, here's what I would say, Jordan, without getting too personal and out of respect, and I appreciate the question because I understand exactly where you're coming from. I think perspective's everything. I mean, her family, I've been so, she's really helped me have a better understanding of, there's always been that thread of these things for the last handful of years. What a tough, resilient group of people that I've gotten to know from her family and different things like that. But I mean, you talk about an amazing perspective that they have. They're just so proud. And, her dad stays up and her mom, her stepmom and her brother in the middle of the night to watch our games based on the time difference. And, he's so excited and they want to talk about us winning the Super Bowl. And then they're in the midst of all these things going on. And so they're just an incredible, graceful example of exactly what you want your family to be. And I'm so proud of them. But it gives you a real perspective. The things that I typically get upset about or I think are real stressors, pale in comparison to what their experiences are in the moment that we're speaking right now. And that perspective has definitely helped me have a better understanding of those things and just so proud, of Veronica, the way she's handled that and her family, and to be associated, with an amazing display of resilience, unity, and a lot of good things in spite of what an awful thing that this is right now.